Release the Kraken.
We are live here.
Welcome to the Morning Skate Show with the co-host Michael De Villano and Cold Frenchy back on the booth tonight this morning. And that's it. That's all. Nothing else. It's Wednesday, middle of the week. And embarrassment is my only word I can tell this morning. And that's it.
Well, we were talking about how the Kraken can't score goals, and we were wrong.
But it's easy. You play against Montreal, you can score goals. So that's easy.
That was crazy. Like the Chris Tanev popped in a couple. The one goal, it was like Jake Allen was like the Yanni Gord goal was like Jake Allen was frozen in time, and he just like went around. I'm like, did he make a move?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. It's rough, man. They got to figure a way out of this. Like something's
It's not
going
going
to
to happen. It's this is done. This is over. Whatever someone tell me, oh, you're going to. This is over.
I mean, there's nothing else.
Maybe 15W this year. This is the worst Montreal Canadiens ever see in my life.
Possible? I don't think that's like you can't go to the final. I mean, they just were in the final, Pierre. I mean, I realize they're missing two huge pieces, and I understand the balance, but there's such a miss here. Like
you cannot name one player yesterday said they would play good or he did something good. No one.
No, it was pretty well. Hoffman scored.
How can you be in breakaway 2 assists a row and Gallagher send the puck and the glass?
Yeah, they're a mess.
It's a mess from the top to the bottom. And Jeff Petrie, it's just
I mean, David Savard and Jeff Petrie, that is like, train wreck.
That's maybe like the worst game Jonathan Drouin yesterday, statistically, and when you analyze the game rate, it's really. But this year, no lights over there for a month to come, and keep us awake until 1 o'clock in the morning watching this. Is just like, it is.
It was a late game for the East Coasters, right?
Yeah, and I think Thursday is later, 10:30. So that give you an idea how it's going to be late. But that's the real thing, and that's the checkup you have to go this morning and realize that the team really, really going to be nowhere at the end of the year. 3 breakaway, and just that's crazy.
Well, they're not going to do nothing. I can't see. It's not like they have no assets. I just don't think you can sit and do nothing. Like they got to pull the trigger on something. They've got some players in the minors they can bring up. They should be bringing up Fairbrother. They should bringing up Caden Primo.
But what do you do with the rest of the player, Michael?
You got to shake it up at least right short term. You've got to pull some guys up and send the message.
Yeah, but what you do with the rest? You have no money. Salary cap problem.
Well, that is the problem. Maybe you lose some of these guys.
That's why you don't have call up in the NHL anymore.
What a mess,
You know what I mean? The only player can go down right now is only Caulfield. So you cannot do that.
Well, send Caulfield down. He's not doing anything.
But he's the only one have the most chance. He's the number 7 in NHL, Michael. 7 in NHL creating an entering zone with a chance to score a goal.
1 assist, 2 assists for Suzuki, the $7 million phenom. So that's not working. You got to sit him, and then you send down Caulfield, and you bring up Fairbrother, you bring up Primo, and you bring up, what's the energy guy down there that had a good camp? Harvey Pinard. And
but something. If you bring Fairbrother, you sound Caulfield, you what you do with the defense? Now you have 9 defensemen. Now, Caulfield, why are you going to drop the Caulfield?
Well,
when he's the one who created the most chance to score for Montreal Canadiens right now.
I mean, right now, would you care if David? Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You got to shake something up. Drouin, I think, has got to sit. -3 in 12.5 minutes. I mean, that was gross. Perreault had a great game the other night. Like there's a guy he only played 12 minutes last night. I don't get that. Hoffman scored, so I think that's good news, and he wasn't a minus. He only played 15 minutes, Pierre. Dvorak's done nothing. I mean, Dvorak has been a complete waste so far.
But again, it's not one player, Michael. It's a team. It's a
Yeah, but
team.
you can't just sit there and keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. You've got to send a message and shake it up. And if you lose some guys, you lose some guys. Like at this point, it's a blessing. I mean, if you sat a couple guys, who cares? So what do you got? You can't bring anybody up at all. I don't buy that.
But you're going to lose them on the waiver. Can you put Christian? If you put Christian Dvorak on the waiver list, drop him to the
you're not going to send Christian Dvorak down, but you could definitely. Do you care if you lose David Savard right now? Who's going to pick up David Savard?
Many teams would take him as a defenseman number 6.
You might be happy to have him taken.
But that's not the way you manage the game. Like David,
I think you're
back down like this, Michael. It's not like way. What you do right now is like it's have to fix from the intern.
Well, the way you don't manage is sit there and do nothing and lose your job. Because that's what he's looking at right now. I mean, they're both looking at losing their job. So you go, it's them or me at this point. All right, you guys don't want to play? I'll bring up guys that want to play. Harvey Pinard wants to play. Fairbrother would be great right now compared to Savard. But you know what? Take him. I can get a guy for $750.
It's like the way you talk like this, Michael. It's like bring Mitch Marner, put him on the waiver because you have $11 million. You have
You're comparing anybody on Montreal to Mitch Marner?
But the way you talk is like I'm not agree when you said you put David Savard or Gallagher on the waiver because you want to shake this. It's not the way to do that. You have only player right now is
You're comparing David Savard to Mitch Marner? That's not even.
I'm not comparing the players. You talk about the players you send just to send them. You send a players like it's like Panthers when I would put Kudas on the waiver. Right? You cannot do that. You cannot send a veteran 31 years old, 30 years old on the waiver just because you want to shake the team for that one over there.
David Savard is junk, Pierre. He's overpaid and they shouldn't have signed him. So if you
put I just Savard, said he's maybe the worst, but again, you can't put this on the waiver just you want to put him on the waiver.
Yes, you can. Pierre, that guy should be on the waivers. He was terrible last year and he was terrible the year before.
He was the one of the all right.
Did you watch him last year?
That's the way you manage hockey. That's put him on the waiver, Michael.
I would put David Savard in waivers in 5 seconds. He should not have been signed in the first place, and now he's playing a critical role, and you're seeing what's happening. I mean, he struggled in Tampa, and that was a great team. Ever since he left Columbus, he's been exposed. I mean, and you got to do something. You can't keep doing the same thing you're doing. If somebody grabbed a David Savard, I'd be shocked at that salary for him for the way he's playing. And if they did, then it's, you've got other options. I think they've got to do something desperate here. I mean, whatever they're doing ain't working. Do you fire the coach? Is that the easiest way? Maybe that's the way, because he didn't do great until the playoffs. They got Luke Richardson. He can't do nothing. You can't go in and lose to an expansion team 5-1. Do nothing. Yeah, I think they're at desperate times, unfortunately. It's okay, Pierre. It'll turn around. They'll get a win. You can't think that Nick Suzuki and Caulfield are young guys. Suzuki's in stun mode over his contract, probably. I don't know. You got to shake something up, though. Good morning to Oleg and Canadian Giant. Pierre's depressed about his Canadians. He shouldn't be. You just went to the Cup final. Let's focus on that. Adam Berger, good morning. Dadnov had a goal last night and McNabb had 3 assists. Who would have seen that? Great game for Vegas. Mark Roy, what happened with Montreal? We are not sure. I think everybody's just on the bad side of their game at the moment. Hoffman scored. I think that was good. He's had 2 goals in 4 games, so that's positive news for them. They really need much more out of everybody, though. Canadian Giant says, good morning, Adam. Says, fire Quinn. And what does this say? Resign Quinville. So, yeah, so this is in response. We can talk about this because I think that was the big news yesterday. I made comments on this a while ago about this, and I know you got mad about me, but I said this is going to come down on Bowman, and there we go. He resigns because I don't know how much I can say, but the player that was involved, Pierre, was pretty. We kind of knew this player, and we didn't know this incident though. Like this is new information, and this is a player that was drafted pretty high for Chicago and never had a career. And now I really wonder if this is why. He was kept in the Chicago organization for a long time after this. And he just never even, I don't even think he ever got a sniff in the NHL. I don't think he got a game, but he was up with them in the playoffs. So I think this is kind of tragic. That they, the number of names that are coming out that were in the room for this, and the way that this was not handled, and letting this guy go off and then do things to other people, it's like horrific. So what's going to happen now? They're going to interview the GM of Winnipeg, and they're going to interview the coach of Florida after Stan Bowman's resigned. Like the next one that this could come down on is Joel Quenneville. Like I don't know what your state's like, but in Washington State, for example, when I was coaching, and in California, coaches are mandatory reporters. And I think that goes at every level. So if any of these incidents happen, like even the Everett Silvertips, we have a police liaison. And when we had incidents and I was aware of anything, I was not allowed to investigate, but I had to report it immediately. So it's going to be interesting to see how, I don't know if that's just youth sports, but it might not be. So I'm confused about what's going on here. I don't know if this is just, was the education not out there on how to deal with this stuff in 2010? Is it that long ago? It doesn't seem that long ago. What do you think he should have done?
Well, yeah, but a lot of things about that. People talk a lot of different ways. We turn out a lot of people, at the end of the day, the the biggest problem right now, it was, it took them 11 years this open up. It's happened in 2010. So it take 11 years. First, congratulations, this is out. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's sad because it could be fixed in 2010 right away if Stan Bowman step up and show, the human being and not the Stanley Cup, like they mentioned yesterday.
That's crazy.
And that's the first one, was not accountable after that. The second is the responsible of the people was at the meeting, and no one of them stepped up for that kind of players, everything like that. That's one thing about those people was in the meeting. The thirdly is the other players, other players laugh about this, or other players did not step up for their teammates. What happening? And then they have other words not players play against him, or they mention some stuff like this on the ice. So that should be something up in this. If those players are still playing hockey, should also be accused or something like that. So it's a lot of things going around right now. Open up about this. John Canville will be in New York tomorrow morning to meet Gary Bettman. Just announced right about 30 minutes ago. I'm pretty sure Kevin will also follow up with that meeting also to meet Gary Bettman, and we'll see if something will get more people would be fired or suspension or a fine. I don't know exactly what's the best, but again, you have a lot of people involved. They never been show up, take their own responsibility. The biggest is Stan Bowman. Stan Bowman at GM should report this to the owners right away and mention, look, what's happening, is happening about this, and the owner should do something about this. If nothing happened after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Stan Bowman should go back over there and explain, hey, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do? But he was focusing more on the Stanley Cup, everything like that. So all the people involved with that, they should be penalized, so they should figure out something. But and it's a lesson to learn about this, where you have to see something, you have to talk about this, and not to
You have
hiding
to.
and protect whatever it is, everything like that. The unfortunate behind that is a lot of people, they're scared to lose their job or something like that. That's maybe another point we can bring it on the table. But at the end of the day, it's a sadness, and the player was involved, everything like that. But on the flip side, that would be open more door if ever happening now in any level inside of how on the business management, everything like that, or on the locker room. It's a small world, and inside the locker room, right? Everything is inside the locker room, never go out. But I think at that moment, those stuff like that should be mentioned. And I think the players have a lack of accountability also at the same time. I think whatever, because they knew at some point, and that they should mention right away and not laughing about this, or a lot of conversation between other players also. So it was a bad time for the timing about this. It took 11 years, and congratulations, Chicago. Whatever, it took 11 years to do something. They fired all the people
I
yesterday,
I
but
don't
again,
know.
it's
Yeah,
maybe
and
too
it's so
late.
weird.
But
Was this brought up by a lawsuit? Like, how did this finally come up? I can't remember. Like, it's been a little while, and I know they hired an independent investigator, right? So, like, did they say, "Hey, we knew about this," or did the player sue them or something? I think the player and another person would maybe. I gotta go look back and look, but like, I feel like it's just horrible because as coaches and managers in just USA Hockey, and think of Hockey Canada, we've had harassment and abuse training for a long time now. And a lot of it goes back to Graham James. There was this, there was stuff with the Maple Leaf Gardens and the ushers there. Like, this was a problem that came up in hockey a long time ago, and we all went through education. And we see Sheldon Kennedy. I mean, Sheldon Kennedy, Theo Fleury, and there's another player that's out there that has not come forward that I believe was also affected, which is a GM in the NHL right now. And I don't understand how this happens. It's crazy, you know.
but the problem, it was hide for many years. That's a problem
Yeah,
for me.
it's
It's like,
ridiculous. Like,
he took a guy from TSN to or report this, and then he got
it's
an
ridiculous.
investigation by a journal. What you can get the investigation report online if you want to see this. The PDF is right there. It's
Yeah,
about one of the page, and that's it take too long about that.
it's amazing.
So it's a story was going to be see other maybe other thing could happen in the future. So that's a good thing about this is that the future is going to be open up, because now the people will be not close it like that happening, because now the first happening yesterday, they don't want this to happen again. So I think that's open up the positivity about that side, but the negativity, you're going to have another settlement between the players and the organization, and talk about hockey culture. But that's what we're looking for, is to anything happen, whatever is youth travel, junior or NHL, people and concern should report this and open up. You have also great interview with Paul Vincent, where he was an ex-coach over there, talk about this, and you're going to hear a lot conversation. The biggest problem between Kevin and um, Joel Canville is because
Oh
they
yeah,
report, they lie about this. They said they
yeah,
was
they
not
fucking
part
lied
of
here.
this
That's what
allegation.
blows me away. Like, these guys have a responsibility. I don't care if you're professional and what you're going for. Like, how many times in hockey are we going to do this? It's insane. The number of people that have been affected by this. And the kid that was affected by it was a kid. Like, the guy was 20 years old in the AHL, Pierre, and he came from our league, and we know this player. And like, we had no idea. We were, and you go through all and you're like, oh, the word about this kid was he's crazy. This is a violent kid, Pierre. That's what the word was. He can't control himself. This is a player that was drafted in the first fucking round from and was going to have a career and never had anything after this. And now, do we understand why? Like this is so crazy of how many people are complicit in it. It blows my mind. I mean, after we had all these guys that came out and already had, did you read Theo Fleury's book? Like, it's hell when you read that book. And that's what he said. He was in this hell. Like, these are like, it's amazing that we could see this happen again. And then this guy not only was, buried in hockey, and they let him go, and he does it again in 2015. I just don't understand how people can't, have, like, we talk about how tough people are in hockey and how much courage they have. Well, show some leadership. Like, you think it's uncomfortable for you. What about the goddamn kid? What about everything that hasn't happened in his life because of that? It's insane. And then all the kids since then. I just don't get it. It blows my mind. Like, if we're truly going to be, developing young players and men, that's what they are, then we got to protect them. It blows my mind, Pierre. I can't deal with it. It drives me nuts. Anyways, it is what it is. So I have no, I see people worried about, we're going to lose our GM and coach. I'm like, I kind of hope so. I hope those guys lose their jobs if it comes out that they knew about this and did nothing. And they advocated to a John McDonough, or they made comments that, winning was more important than covering this up. And this is why, in USA Hockey and Hockey Canada, coaches are mandatory reporters. It's like, don't think, just report it. Don't investigate. You don't investigate. You send it to the police. And now I get it. It makes a lot of sense because you're not emotionally capable of dealing with something like this. It's really disappointing to see this again. Like, after all that crap we went through with Graham James, all the nonsense with David Frost, all the stuff with Maple Leaf Gardens. Like, when are we going to learn? Like, we all collectively as coaches have a responsibility for this. Anyways, it is what it is. I didn't think I was going to get so emotional about it. It's so frustrating to see. It just drives me nuts. Yeah, not happy. Anyways, sorry, Pierre. I think we just can do a lot better job. So I hope that they take appropriate action, and I hope that something positive comes out of this. But right now it's just mind blowing. I can't. I guess I just feel a collective responsibility. I would hope that if I was in that situation, I would have the guts to do the right thing, or at least, abdicate it to someone that does, like the cops. Let the cops deal with it, and that's it. And who cares about PR? This is worse PR. This is legacy things, that taints everything they did. Really frustrating to watch. All right, well, let's focus on some happy stuff. We've had 2 crummy messages this morning. In other games, Calgary's on fire, Pierre. Calgary wins again. So this team is 4-1 now, I think. And we were talking about how Mangiapane gets his 6th and 7th goals. That's his second 2-goal game in a row, I think. He's really working out under Flames coach Daryl Sutter. Colorado does look like a mess, Adam. And yeah, Anthony, I don't think you should be worried. I think you should expect that this is going to come down, because if he knew anything, like they're saying, and said the things he did, something should happen. Yarmo says KK is on waivers, but I think this is in the fantasy pool, right? Not in reality. I don't think they put him on waivers in the NHL. So, and good game from Zaka. But overall, Flames are something to watch. The player I'm excited about still is Dawson Mercer. He gets 2 points last night. And finally, we saw Sean Monahan get on the board. So maybe that's some positive news for them. Because if they can get Monahan going and they're already playing this well, then that's good news for the Flames. Tampa Bay Lightning, 5-1, Pierre. They finally break out a little bit last night. So Pittsburgh, a really depleted Pittsburgh team, maybe they finally lose a game. They've been limping along without anyone. And what was interesting was I didn't realize Barre Boulet got picked up again by Tampa. Did I ruin this morning's show, Pierre? Sorry. What do you want to do, Pierre?
Now I'm listening. Are you reading everybody's the comments about that?
Yeah, lots of comments. I don't know what should we put comments up or let's see. The coach is struggling a bit here. There's a lot of comments on Montreal, obviously. Let's say good morning to some guys, and if they want to contribute, Oleg is here, obviously, and Canadian Giant. Adam Berger, we appreciate you joining. He was commenting on Dadonov. And Mark Waugh, I think it's just a meltdown right now in Montreal, and they've got to do something just to kind of reset and start from zero for the season. They've got good players, and they can figure it out, and there's options they can do, but they got to send a bit of a message somehow. I wouldn't be surprised to see a coach, gone. You've got a good coach there that coached in the playoffs, so it wouldn't shock me, Mark. Let's see. Who else do we have? Chainsaw Man said good morning earlier, and Yarmo said good morning. Moi. Watch the goals and not too happy. Yeah, there was a lot of goals last night. Some good fans in Seattle. Yeah, Seattle fans are really supportive, though. That's the one thing. So they're very enthusiastic. We see that in other sports. We see that in football. We see that in soccer. Colorado is a mess. So, I think there's a lot of surprises this year, and that's another one. They've changed a lot of players in Colorado, though, and it's tough when you do that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they pull out of this. Allen's still in Yarmo's team, by the way, so that's interesting. So you've kept him in your ESPN team. Chainsaw Man says, yep, but now is the time to bring up youngsters in Montreal. Ener Tap, thank you for joining us. Yeah, and I agree, Chainsaw Man. I think that, that there's going to be some change. They can't keep going this way. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to just detonate it. They made a lot of moves in the offseason. They had success, so I think they expect more out of them. It's not the players that need addressing. It's the administration and changing the climate. Something is clearly wrong in the dressing room. Well, you're missing your captain. You don't have a replacement for him, either emotionally or, with the C. And you're missing your star player in Price. That's tough. And you're relying on, you're not sure if you're going to get them back. So, I mean, I think we underestimate that. There's good players, but who's leading the team? I wonder even if bringing back an Eric Stahl might help, because he's sitting on the sideline somewhere, and he's been a captain, and he's a veteran guy. And I didn't think he played too bad last year. Something like that might help them out a little bit. Suzuki is overpaid. Well, right now, I think Suzuki is going to be more than fine. We saw he played great last year. Is this only his third year, Pierre?
Yeah, he's on entry level.
So, I mean, this is tough. The guy gets a lot of dough. He had a long playoff run, and there's a lot of pressure on him. It's like, oh my God, now I'm the number one centerman. And I think that's what's going through his mind. And I think that's, not to be underestimated, right? There's a lot of pressure in Montreal already. We see it with Drouin and what happened with Drouin. Look what Price is doing. And now that it's like a culture where, okay, well, you're supposed to talk about your feelings. And
he's going to be fine. Just he's not playing his game right now about that. Those kind of players like Mitch Marner and Matthews going to find a way to come back. He just right now he have a difficult time and the pressure is on. He's just maybe not the right chair right now, but the guy's going to get 60 points at some point, but not right now.
Maybe even this year.
He play, but with all the bad game he has, he'll still have 2 points, 2 assists right now. But you expect more from him.
For sure.
That's not produced. So you have a difficult time at that moment.
You got 75 games, guys. But they've got to do something to pull out of it. I think guys like Caulfield and Suzuki are going to be fine, but you got to do something. You got to break the cycle a little bit, and it might be sitting them for a game. Let them watch from the press box and then put them back in. You got to get veterans like Anderson and Toffoli to contribute more. Those are important things. Put the pressure on them. That's not the type of guys those two are, but they can do more. Vallejo, thank you for joining us this morning. I don't think you do that. I think the first step is you shake them up a little bit, Chainsaw Man. One reason they don't have Price, of course. I mean, that is a huge, huge thing. The only reason they went as far as they did is Carey Price, frankly. I mean, he stole a lot of games, right? And they were having a rough time going into the playoffs. What was Dubois doing last? 2 bad giveaways at the D zone. And, I didn't see that part. I did see, though, the goal. And what I was excited about to see was the goal by Svechnikov. And what I didn't realize, Pierre, is that Pierre-Luc Dubois and Svechnikov played on the Screaming Eagles together in the queue. So that's reuniting line mates, and that's really worked out so far. Svechnikov seems to have really found a home, which I'm excited about. So, the lesser Svechnikov, the older one of Jenny, I was kind of disappointed Detroit gave up on him. He's got good hands. He's a big guy. He worked his butt off from 2 huge injuries, Pierre. And if you see both the Svechnikov brothers outside of the rink, they are fit. They're like monsters. They work really hard in the gym. So I think it's exciting that he's doing well in Winnipeg. We can look at that game. Eatertap says, don't worry about the Habs. They have too much talent to continue. I would agree with that. And that's why I say, just shuffle the pieces around. You've got to send a message like, hey, we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. We're committed to winning, but you've got to perform. And if you're not going to play. And you can't have a culture where you keep putting guys in and doing the same thing. And maybe the coach goes. I wouldn't shock me because you've got a very competent coach in Luke Richardson there. And you've got other people too. How can Quenneville coach behind the bench tonight? I don't know if he will, Adam, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he will.
Will he? I thought
he meets Malik Harry Bettman tomorrow morning.
Oh, it's tomorrow morning. It's not today. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think I'd be removing myself. But, it depends on his involvement. Adam's saying the same thing. All educators are mandatory reporters. And that's why I'm kind of shocked about this a little bit. So, and I know I kind of reacted emotionally. I didn't really expect to, but it's frustrating because I think you protect people, I don't know what they do here, Pierre. If he can't coach, then what happens? I mean, it'll be interesting.
You have to look for another coach, and I think that the one, and Adam said, Mike Packard is maybe the closest one, like CANVA, as the have a problem before the past. But I think maybe the closest have a kind of experience like CANVA is Packard, but he would cost you a lot of money. Whatever happening right now, the brick contract will be over with CANVA, so it's not about the money at that moment. Again, maybe Jim Montgomery could be another one over there, but I'm not seeing Montgomery have a lot of experience. But it would be interesting how the Panthers going to react and how it's going to be affect that game tonight against Boston. So it's a lot of conversation. Where tomorrow is going to be the big day for him. It's going to have a hard question, and at the end of the day, it's not everybody. It's Gary Bettman who's going to take the decision. So it would be interesting about that because every decision from the commissioner affect the team, the fans, everything like that. And maybe he's going to pass a message for that. I think the favor is, again, those two people because the changing culture, hockey, everything like that. So they will have to get a lot of great, how I said that, they will have to have a great argument to say, no, he's fine, he stay as a coach. Because you're going to ask her, yeah, but why he did that, why he did not do that, why he was involved, was not involved, why he did not protect the players, whatever it is. So, but again, I think the biggest problem around Chicago was only Stan Bowman and the owners of the Chicago at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this.
The only problem, I think, is the on CANVA problem is like he said he was not did not know, and honestly,
Obviously, I
it's a
knew.
lie. So
Yeah,
that's right now is just two strike against him. So how he can defend himself to Gary Bettman? Now he can bring. I didn't want to change the investigation. I didn't want to bring more everything like that publicly, but on a privately, I talk with the investigation. I told this. We don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, maybe a reason behind he didn't want to go that direction. We don't know. So before, what I mean, like put him on the corner. I just wait to see happen with Batman. But yeah, maybe we don't know honestly why he said that,
I
right?
don't know. It, if
But
that all that's true, it's going to come out now, and let it, you know, let the chips fall where they may, man. Because when you're at your for every other thing he accomplished, you had a moment, and if you purposefully lied and said I didn't know about it, but you knew about it, and obviously if players were talking about, hockey's a small world, and when that player keeps coming back, because that player is in the organization until 2013, is my understanding.
yeah.
So he didn't go away. I think they traded him in 13 or 16 because he played in Rockford for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that guy in camp. You're going to know he's coached in your AHL organization. He's a
Everybody around Chicago Blackhawks knew.
Come on,
Knew.
he
Yeah, nobody
dismissed the
can have
coach.
said we do not know. He knew. They fired a video
Absolutely.
coach. The player come back. The player talk about this. The inside of the locker room knew about this.
Yep.
And be honest with you, some player play against the players, and he was bark to the players about that. So right now, this investigation is getting to under the direction to see which player did it, which players was bring that kind of the language to that
Sure.
players, and maybe those players still play in NHL could have some repercussion about them. But it would be interesting to follow with that part.
So it's interesting. Enertap was saying that this was this is in litigation for years. We know that the person, Brad Aldrich, committed additional offenses, and I don't know, where was it? It was in a school system, or it was something. Yeah, I'd have to check, but he assaulted 2 people at Miami, Ohio. So this guy went, because they did nothing, went to Miami, Ohio, and in 2012 did it again. It's like a 16-year-old member of a Michigan hockey team. Like, so that, that's the thing with these guys. Like, they're perpetual. It's one guy that does damage to a whole lot of people, and then the people around them, right? So it's like our obligation is to do something about guys like this, not just just let the guy resign and then go somewhere else without anything following him. So that that's the important. It's like if you see or you think you hear anything, guys, you got to tell the cops. Period. That's what mandatory reporting for coaches and teachers is all about. And I think that extends to any guy, any person, any woman that hears anything like this. You got to report it. You don't have a choice. Let the investigators do the investigating. Yeah, it's crazy. Good morning, Bud the Monkey. Sorry, we're kind of like have a little bit of a somber tone. I didn't expect to go that way, but it's what it is. Their job is a small price to pay for what they did. I agree. Good morning to Kelly, who joined us. Thank you. Bob is starting. Lundell's out. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how much this affects that team. And I think someone said it, like, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be tough to be on that bench. I don't know how you look at that, wondering with that conversation the next day. The Leafs will win 3-2 because it's Chicago. Yeah, and Chicago's having a rough time too. So there's going to be something coming down other than the GM, I would say. But it'd be interesting to see if they're able to turn their season around. We saw Vegas beat Colorado. Colorado's having a rough time. I would be shocked if something doesn't change in Colorado. It's amazing how many teams are having problems right now. Yeah, and Everett is playing well, 6-0. It's a record start for the team. 3 shutouts in 6 games, Adam. So we're excited about that. Yeah, you can blame them. You can absolutely, because when you know something, you say something, and that's what it is. And we've all had training on this, so we know, Anthony. We know what to do, which is you report it. If you hear anything suspicious, you don't have to see it. If you just hear it, and if a player reports it, you have cause to just go right to the cops, and that's the end of it. Colorado's a mess. I don't know what's going on in Colorado, Pierre. I don't know if there's injuries. Cale Makar got a point. Bo Byram is good news for this team, though. I was looking at Bo Byram. He got his 4th assist last night. He got 5 points in 6 games. I think it's interesting, though. They're playing Cale Makar with Bo Byram. I would think I would split them up a little bit.
Well, they miss Girard and Dustin Dose right now, so that's another problem they have right now, the defensive side. But about we said at the beginning of the year, everybody put Colorado, we said they're going to struggle. They have no bottom 6, and they lose down Squee and Sad. They lose about 50 goals with other players get out. So that problem is right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to work that way over there. So they don't have enough, and you cannot win with only 4 players. Your bottom 6 going to make you winning championship at the end of the year, and you cannot play your captain 22 minutes, 21 minutes every single game over there. And you have to use Jack Johnson, where he was the most worst defenseman in NHL for the last 2 years. Now he play 15 minutes on your line right now, whatever he fight yesterday, but McDermott play 7 minutes. So he play right now with 3 defensemen, honestly, and then Makar, Johnson, and Biram, and Murray should be your defenseman number 5 or 6. Now he play as the defenseman number 4. So you can see they're missing Girard and Dustin Dose. I think Dustin Dose is a really big piece of the puzzle over there. And again, if you look at the name at the bottom of the forward, Helm, Cole, Ranta is a rookie over there. Mekna, it's just not name you can see in the lineup, everybody else. So it's a team that I believe they don't go nowhere.
I agree. I don't know why people were picking them as a cup winner. Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, everybody's
it's hard, Michael, to do point night after night with only those 4 players, right?
No way.
Some night you don't produce, other people under will pick you up. But right now, it's impossible to do that for the Colorado. So I don't see that team. I think Toronto is going to turn around more at Colorado. But I would not be surprised tonight. Toronto beat Chicago 6-1 tonight. It's just a time for for Toronto.
Yeah, someone's got to pop out there. I mean, you can't have Matthews looked pretty good, so having him back is good. Tavares has got to do a little bit more, but Marner's really the guy that's quiet.
But it's like you know what the people said. They have the number one NHL on creating opportunities. They are number 1 at the shot and the cycling. They are number 1 on the middle of the ice on the zone pay-in area. The problem right now, they are only at 7% complete those shots in the net. Usually they should be at 16. There was a 16 last season. So when you create those opportunities, or you still try, but does not give a goal, with the talent they have, that will happening. It's just not normal. Like, you can have 2 games, you hit the post 4 times, but the next few days, a few games, the puck will be in. It's just you're not unlucky. You're unlucky at that period. So Toronto is going to be back normal the next couple of days, a couple of games. I wouldn't be surprised start tonight. You're not going to be Matthews at 1 goal for 10 games.
No,
you're going to have a Matthews at 6% chance to score. It's not happening. It's not going to happening. So the team right now, I believe, will be more Toronto is going to back up about that. But Colorado at that moment, they don't make any chance. That will be a very hard season for them also.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And there's another team that's struggling because they took out the middle, right? Like, you keep gutting the middle, keep the top, and that doesn't work. And it really shows. It's funny how a guy like Lou Lamoriello is really tough and structured about how he deals with salary, and people don't like negotiating with a guy like Jarmo Kekalainen, and he's the same way. And yeah, those teams are having success. And in the NHL is about depth, and we saw that in the playoffs. Edmonton's out early because all they do is they have to shut down one line.
Yep.
Toronto's out early because they are able to shut down those top players, right? And it carries over.
Absolutely.
Well, at least Edmonton learned from it. Edmonton addressed it and improved the middle of their lineup, and Toronto did the opposite. Colorado did the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, NHL GMs are smart. They'll figure it out. I'm worried that Peter Angelo is playing too many minutes, 30 minutes a game. He's a horse. He can do it, but I don't think you want to do that forever. I think you want him down 22 to 23. I don't think 30s is going to make a lot of sense. Brad Marchand's son joined us this morning. Subban got fined $5,000. What was this for?
He hit Milan Lucic.
Oh. Well, Milan Lucic probably deserved it.
It was a tripping, dangerous tripping. That's what he got.
What, I was going to comment, like Milan Lucic, you got to give this guy credit. Like, he washed out in Edmonton, moved for
He had a
Jamie
tough
Benn.
year this season. Unfortunately, he scored only his first goal yesterday. But he had a tough year overall this season.
He's still gutting it out. He had a pretty decent year last year. He's carved out a role for himself there. So he scored last night. But yeah, overall, they've played pretty well. I got to give them credit. Ekblad is playing his 500th game already? Wow, yeah. That is crazy how fast that went. Marchand, Bergeron, Coyle, Nosek, Gralchuk, Forbort, and Riley. What about them? They're all playing pretty well. That's a good news. Forbort had 2 points, I think, the other night. Yeah, and Yarmo's saying for the trip on that's what you were describing. Ekblad's going to be a -5. Why do you say that? That's not great. I don't think that's true.
No, he said he will because they play each other tonight.
I don't think that's going to happen, Brad Marchand. You're hoping. Montreal, did they have any power play time yesterday? I don't know.
Yeah, they're 0-2.
They were 0-2. And then Hoffman's goal was even strength?
Again, they got a first. They gave a goal at the beginning of the game. Then he got a power play, did not do anything. Then Mike Hoffman scored a goal. At that moment, they got also a power play. They have a high stick in the face of the on the face, so the power play come back, and that's the momentum of the game is just the little thing. If Montreal scored that power play, now they take the lead 2-1. That's changed the rest of the game. But again, they have nothing to do there. They was terrible. Jonathan Drouin sent 3 passes about 6 feet beside Niku on power play, like bad pass, terrible. And that's what happened there. It's a little thing like that. And then Danev scored 11 minutes later. 6 minutes later, he scored his first of the tonight, and that's over at that moment. 2-1. And 3 breakaway, 3 goal, and 5. So, goal.
Wow. Yeah, that's tough. Good morning to Anthony Manzano. Good morning to Bud the Monkey I mentioned. Frank Salazar has joined us. He was saying Toronto are still a bunch of crybabies. They should just stay. Goodbye to the media and focus on playing. I think that's a big part of it, Frank. Like, that's the one thing I thought Lou Lamoriello did a great job of. For the first time ever, he put a barrier between the players and the media. Because the media there are kind of like parasites, man. They're like tabloid reporters on hockey, and they just get way too in the players' faces, and they ask them really, jarring questions, and your focus gets off of how you're playing, and there's just a lot of exposure in Toronto to players. Ever since he joined Florida, Sam Bennett's got 22 points in 18 games. This is quite the story. I think this is a great reclamation. I mean, he's shown that with opportunity, he's really, really a quality player in the NHL. We're at the 9-minute warning. I definitely have to end this before the top of the hour. So a couple comments, guys. There's a lot of comments that we've tried to get through here. Florida win the cup and Barkov give the trophy to Jumbo. Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. This Quenneville situation might be a problem. We have seen in the past. Let's say it comes down to changing coaches, though, and you bring in a Mike Babcock. or you bring in someone else and they win the cup. I would not be surprised at that. We've seen that a lot where a change in coaching will still get a team galvanized to win. Toronto's on fire with anger with its fans. They're not in the mood for any excuses. Michael Rubenstein. They want heads roll, but they always want that. They always want that. The unusual thing will be to not fire anybody. Kind of annoying. Boston will not play Letary any games for another week. I don't know what. Oh, any games for another week. They have 3 upcoming in the streak of 4 days without one. Well, they probably need the rest. So last night we saw another great game from Nashville, and a couple players I was going to mention, like Forsberg gets 3 assists, or his third goal. Duchesne's scoring, so that's good. Johansson gets his 3rd assist. So all their top players are playing well, unlike last year. Michael Granlund is quietly having a really productive season, 6 points in 7 games. So I think these are all good news stories for Nashville. And Tanner Janot's been a really pleasant player for them again. So I think there's a lot of good stories coming out of Nashville right now. They're 3-4-0, so we'll see what happens there. But Sharks fall to 4-2-0. A good game for Saros, so we'll keep an eye on that. Are they just a 500 team? Maybe, but they're getting good production from all their top players. So I think that's in the right direction, at least for them. They need all those guys to do well. Interesting. So Wild win 3-2. Yet again, Kaprizov not only doesn't get a goal, he doesn't get an assist. And yet they still win. The guy who's absolutely killing it, Pierre, Matt Zuccarello. He's got 7 points in 6 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. He's playing terrific. So I think that's really positive. Adam says he's shocked at the lack of attendance around the league. Vegas is 104%. So I know I've seen like in Buffalo is really low, and I think Buffalo is going to struggle until the border opens. Because I think that people don't understand how many fans come from Canada for each game. I think that there's legitimately a lot of fans in Niagara Falls and Hamilton that normally come across, and they're not getting those fans. And they're playing well. They're playing very well.
But this is general around the league. Chicago, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Montreal. Everywhere right now, they have it's mentioned, everybody dropped the attendance at that moment. Many teams for years, they were sold out, and this year they are not. So it's general. It's not only Buffalo, it's everywhere at that moment.
Adam thinks that Jack Johnson will get suspended for his hit on Kolasar, so that'll be interesting. Vegas is 0 for 14 on the power play. That's not good news. You're missing your best power play guys.
No, they are 0 and 30 something.
Wow, that is crazy. Could Calgary be a playoff team? I think right now they look like they are. I mean, the way they're playing, if they keep playing like this, they're in good shape.
It's a little bit too early to mention them but if win their 4th straight game at home, matchup, and he scores 7 straight on the road as a goal. That's not easy. And at that moment, everything's going on well over there without Monahan and Goudreau. So we'll be interesting about this a little bit earlier, but I think they have a chance for that to make maybe a splash this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the personal player is there. Can it become a chemistry? I don't know. I think Coleman changed a little bit the eat and stay right now. Coleman is a kind of player Sutter love, and that would be something to follow up, but that's the big thing over there.
I think they made some really smart moves in the offseason. I really liked that pickup. They lost Giordano, and I thought that was really going to hurt them. Valimaki's playing pretty well. Tanev has really stepped up, taken more of a leadership role. You're seeing Shillington can play in the NHL. Goodbranson played a lot of minutes last night, Pierre. We keep writing this guy off, and they won with their backup.
They miss right now Zadorov, so
they do, but not enough to lose. Like when you look at this lineup and they still have Zadorov, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like this is a team going in the opposite direction where they addressed their depth. They brought in a Trevor Lewis, they brought in Coleman, which I think was a great signing. Mangiapane is showing that he can be a big time contributor. And I don't even think Matthew Tkachuk has hit his stride yet. It's really interesting. And Monahan has definitely not hit his stride. So if they can ever get him back on track, and the guy that's leading the way is Lindholm, like 7 goals, Pierre, no 1 assist, which is weird, but I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think
7
we ever
goals.
saw
Yeah.
this happening in Carolina. That was crazy. What a great move for them. All right, the final game we'll comment, we'll wrap it up, was the Winnipeg game. So I mentioned last night, Svechnikov gets his first goal of the season. He's been playing very well on the line with Dubois and Connor. And I think that's really positive. And I mentioned that these guys were junior line mates, which I totally forgot about. So I think that's a really positive thing for him. I'm excited. He's only 24, Pierre. He's had some really big setbacks. He's always been a skilled guy, and he's a big guy, and I think he works hard. So I hope he has continued success and stays healthy in Winnipeg, and I hope they keep having success. They still have two great players that have to come back, in Scheifele and Wheeler. So I think if they can get some wins, but it's right now it's easy times to win against Anaheim. They're falling back into their normal pattern. They're just
Well, the turnaround is a 2 goal in 19 seconds at the end of the game. Like, and I was going to win 3-2 this game, and then Winnipeg came back with 2 goals in 19 seconds at the last 2 minutes of the game. So that's changed completely.
crazy.
Did not show exactly what happened. And I was dominate that game most of the game, but unfortunately, 2 bad goals at the end of the game and 19 seconds changed the result, the outcome over there. So will be interesting how this is going to affect them after the good start. Now they fall apart a little bit at 2-4-1, but that's what we expect. We expect them to be at the bottom of the league at that moment. And,
Yeah,
it's happened for other team at some point, but that's what happened in this game.
yeah. I think they are what they are. I don't see them going anywhere now. I mean, they
I'm a
were
bit
two.
nervous about Comtois. Comtois is very quiet so far.
He's been very quiet, Pierre.
No.
Yeah, and he had a real good year last year. So I think that he's got to get going. Zegras only got his first goal last night. He did not have a good camp, Pierre. He looked like, I think I mentioned to you, I did not like his body language on the ice. He was terrible in all the camp days that I went. I was like shocked at how bad he was. It was just like he didn't care. It was more of that. It was like, hey, I'm here, I'm good. It was kind of a Phil Kessel thing. I was kind of shocked, to be honest with you, because you saw everybody else working real hard. Ehlers had a nice goal. Is Calgary better than Vancouver? I don't know. Vancouver on paper looks pretty good. So I think that they're going to both be pretty competitive. If Vancouver doesn't start, I don't know. They've had kind of spits and spurts. Where are they now? Are they kind of in the middle of the
How
pack?
they be going to fight for the standing for the spot 3
Yeah, they'll be like
and
a
4. We thought the King would be joined the dance, but right now, no. The Senators was a little bit there, but both team, I believe, they're going to fight for that spot over there because that division is really between Edmonton and Vegas.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting that I think overall both team have the same kind of lineup where there are a couple of great players over there. But
Yep. All right, Pierre, I know it was not a happy day today. I'm sorry I got a little wound up and emotional about the story that was out there. I appreciate everything you do. And what's on schedule tonight? I unfortunately have to jump, but if you want to stay on, I can leave you on. We've gone through a lot of comments.
it's 12 o'clock, so all good.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. We're going to see you tonight.
Yep. We'll be there 5 o'clock Eastern time.
Better days ahead, Hockey Nation Live. Thank you to everyone for all your comments and support and for joining. We will see you on tomorrow's morning show, and Pierre will be on live tonight.
Have a good day.